This week on The Verdict, we'll cover some of the Tarantino classics, so get ready to jump up on the table and do the twist. This is The Verdict. Welcome, I'm Elizabeth Pegram.
And I'm Taylor J. Hubbard II.
And I'm Patrick Jimenez. Back in 1992, the film market was filled with action heroes, sequels, and Aladdin was #1 at the box office. Along comes a no-name director with no money or no budget, having to shoot his film on the weekends and work his normal job during the week. Quentin Tarantino's excellently crafted Reservoir Dogs, a small-time jewelry heist goes south. Remaining men began to suspect that there is an informant in their midst. My personal favorite of Tarantino's work, and it's the film that launched his extremely successful career and gained him the power of Final Cut. Here's a trailer for Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs.
Face! Put the gun down! Here are your names. Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Pink.
Why am I Mr. Pink?
Who cares what your name is?
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool sounding name.
Let's go to work.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right.
What happens if the manager won't give you the diamonds?
Cut off one of his fingers. The little one.
I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair. And I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs.
If they hadn't done what I told them not to do, they'd still be alive.
It's so hard to keep the smile from my face. I'm all over the place.
You're acting like a first-year thief. I'm acting like a professional.
And you flip me off a comment, slap you on my back and say,
Choice he's been doing 10 years. Taking out some stupid mother. Ain't no choice at all.
Bam! Bam! Bam, 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 bam.
you're under arrest, sugar.
Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and Michael Madsen. They're the Reservoir Dogs.
Hey, Joe, I'm gonna shoot this guy.
So how does the first feature of this incredible director hold up in terms of his best work?
I started off like I was going to say something.
I was waiting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I liked it. And I actually just finished watching it just probably about a couple hours ago.
Oh.
And it went by really fast for the most part. I thought, like, because at the end I'm like, oh, okay. Because, you know, we start off seeing, it sort of builds up the story to about halfway through. We get to the climax and all that. And then it sort of explains it for at least for like 10 minutes. We go back and explains a little bit. Then they return back into the warehouse. I don't know, it's not my favorite Tarantino movie. That one comes later, but I liked it. I mean, it was okay. You know, I like the mob and the gang sort of style. I think that's pretty nifty.
I personally think it's one of the best because, I mean, for that to be his first like big film that he did, to like start a series of just many hit after hit after hit, I think it fits right in. I think it's mostly because of that one scene, that really famous scene where they're in the warehouse and then he's like, I can't remember how to explain it, but that song's playing and it's like,
and he's dancing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope we don't get flagged for copyright. But
Yeah. No,
first of all, that song's amazing, and also that's like, even though it's not the most like recognizable Tarantino movie, that scene right there is so recognizable and so amazing. It's my favorite thing in the entire world.
Yeah, this is my favorite. I think there's something about like a director's first work that is always the most like impactful. I think it was just because, you know, he didn't have the money. The actors were wearing their own clothes. He was shooting on his days off, which, you know, if you're making films on your own, you can kind of relate to that. So I think the fact that he was able to pull something off that had like this old kind of, you know, gang gun, like it's pretty like reminiscent of how he does the rest of his films that are always kind of like loosely westerns. So it kind of had that feel like bank robbery gone wrong, somebody ratted us out. I mean, nowadays it's kind of, not want to say cliche, but it's a standard for those types of films because there's, you know, there's always copycats out there. But
right.
I think that was the first film of his that I watched that I was like, okay, what else has he done? Which kind of leads into Pulp Fiction and his masterful work.
I agree with you. Like that movie, like Reservoir Dogs, it had the whole heist thing, which we've kind of seen before in movies, but like he took it and he made his own style with it. First of all, with excessive bloodshed. That's
Tarantino for you.
Tarantino's staple.
That's right.
But like, I do think like it really paved the way, and it like, it really did inspire.
And it's like
You could see a little bit of Reservoir Dogs in like the rest of his movies.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, because it like it sets the story up, and then like it's always got to like bounce back a couple times, because in the beginning of the movie, and this happens every time I watch a movie, but I'm like, did I miss something? Because it's usually the case. Something is described and they explain it, and I'm not paying attention, so I'm like, oh crap, and I have to go back. But usually I'll wait, because that's how Tarantino does. He's like, no, I'll get back on that. We'll reflect on it later. But I'm just watching it. I'm like, okay, so they got in trouble for something. Somebody got shot, and it's bad, apparently. Nobody has real first names. We got Dr. White, or excuse me, Mr. White. He didn't earn his doctorate. Mr. White and Mr. Pink. I like him in the beginning scene, and they're like, hey, tip in a couple bucks to tip the server.
Yeah.
And Mr. Pink goes, I don't tip. And then everyone at that table immediately turns against him. Is like, no, why do you don't tip? And like, these women they bust their butt around here to do this. And he goes, I don't tip. I don't just do what society tells me to do. And everyone's like, I don't care. How about you put $1 down? And he's like, okay.
I feel like those little moments that you see in film are like the director's voice. So I kind of feel like that was probably Tarantino saying, I don't really feel like I should tip. I don't tip at McDonald's. I don't tip at a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was his little way of saying that. And, but I think what this movie did and what the rest of his films kind of do is, this is like the first time we see bad guys that have like a lot of personality. And they're not just one dimensional, like, let's rob a bank because we're bad. It's like, let's rob a bank and, this is who they are outside of it. He does that in his later films.
Yeah, that's kind of like his thing. Like if you watch a lot of his other movies, the main characters are usually horrible people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in Pulp Fiction,
you love them.
You love them.
And that's what's crazy. Like how can it's one thing to like have to make like a likable character for the audience to latch onto, but it's one thing to do to make us care about people who are doing heinous acts.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's got to be really tough, and he does it.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about Tarantino, because just with all the movies, there's always like, with the tipping scene, there's nothing going on. It's strictly conversational, and it's hilarious. And he does such a good job of like in capturing a real conversation. Just some dudes at a restaurant discussing like, hey, why don't you tip? And like, well, I don't think we should. I don't tip my McDonald's server. And they're like, well, that's just wrong. These women work really hard. But it's just, any of his movies, you always see that. You just see that these natural conversations that just seem to flow so nicely. And they make to be hilarious situations, because it's like, it's real life. That's something we would all talk about that.
That's another thing. He really does humor really well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't think of Tarantino as like the classic comedy director, because, I mean, everybody dies, it seems, in his movies.
Yeah.
So like whenever you watch, especially like scenes like that, and there's the scene in Pulp Fiction where the guy is driving and then he gets accidentally shot. That part's very morbidly hilarious.
Yeah. And that we're gonna save that for later, because I got a whole mouthful to say about that. Because that movie itself is really encaptures that conversational quality that makes it so hilarious. And like that's the stuff I appreciate, is realism. I love it.
Yeah, I
eat it up.
I think I saw like Reservoir Dogs in comparison to like say his other films, because it was such a simple movie.
Yeah.
But his cinematography and the way he like would block his shots, it just felt like you were watching something serious that you needed to pay attention to. Like it felt like an old film. And that's why, to me, I think he was saying, hey, you don't need a lot of money to make a good movie. Yeah. And that's why I think Reservoir Dogs still holds up today.
Yeah, and Quentin Tarantino even shows up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he does in the rest of them.
Like he does in this next one, too. Tarantino has a brand, and this next movie fits perfectly into that brand. There's violence, Western language, another iconic performance from Samuel L. Jackson. Django Unchained is about a man who is freed by a bounty hunter. Django is the newly free man who is now on the hunt for his wife. The two got separated because they tried to escape from their plantation many times. Along the way, Django and the bounty hunter find many of the wanted men, creating many scenes of comedic violence. With Jamie Foxx, Kerry Washington, Leonardo DiCaprio, Christoph Waltz, and even a guest appearance from Jonah Hill. Here is the trailer for Django Unchained.
There ain't no grave can hold my body down. There ain't no grave can hold my body down.
Good cold evening, gentlemen. Amongst your inventory, I've been led to believe is a specimen I'm keen to acquire.
When I hear that trumpet sound,
What's your name?
I'm gonna rise right out of the ground.
Django. Then you're exactly the one I'm looking for.
Hey, stop talking to him.
Calm down. I'm simply a customer trying to conduct a transaction.
Last chance, fancy pants.
Oh, very well. Do you know what a bounty hunter is?
You kill people, and they give you a reward.
Better. They are bigger the reward. I need your help. I'm looking for the Brittle Brothers. However, I don't know what they look like, but you do. Don't you?
They caught my wife, and they sold her, but I don't know who took.
That means we visit every plantation until we find him. Once a final Brittle Brother lies dead in the dust, I agree to give you your freedom, and I'll take you to rescue your wife.
Where are we going?
Yes!
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
How do you like the bounty hunting business?
Kill white folks and they pay you for it? What's not to like? I like the way you die, boy.
He is a rambunctious sword, ain't he?
What's your name?
Django.
The D is silent.
So guys, is it just me, or was this film off the chain?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was great. I really liked Django Unchained. I remember the first time I saw it. It's like one of those. It's one of those movies where it's like so good, and there's so much happening, and there's like a lot of emotion going through, and then by the end of it, you're like, there's a scene in the film, I think, when the main character, he's off, and then Tarantino has his little cameo.
Yeah,
that's when I thought the movie was going to end.
Yeah,
But then it keeps
forgot.
going. Then it's like, no, it's a Tarantino movie. We're gonna shoot everybody up in this house. Like,
You know how it is.
Yeah, but other than that, like he shot, I think portion of it on 70 millimeter, so it has like this wide. He did it in Hateful Eight. He shot the whole thing on 70, but I think he did certain scenes in Django, and it just felt like a classic. Like I consider it a Western film.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
And then we're rooting for Django the whole time, which it just makes any movie amazing because he's trying to find Brunhilde, right? The German one, and and then he finds the doctor, the bounty hunter. Oh, he's great, and he's so smooth with all his bounties.
The dentist.
Yeah.
Dentist.
His introduction was great because they had everybody lined up, and they were marching everybody from one city to another.
Yeah.
And that's when we get introduced to the dentist, and when he saves Django. That was a great introduction.
That's a great first opening scene.
It
First
is,
of all, he shoots the horse, and the horse falls on the man's leg, and he can't move.
Yes.
And he's like, "Gah!" Like that is.
There was a lot, because at first I was kind of worried because I thought Christoph Waltz in the film had a lot of charisma, and then Jamie Foxx kind of starts off with just like a stoic kind of like following along this almost interesting character. Then I think the moment when the character that Jamie Foxx plays comes into his own is when he gets his own suit.
Yeah,
when he gets the blue suit.
Yeah, when he gets the haircut and the blue suit.
The Austin Powers suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes back and then he finds the guy who,
because he's a free man. You know, he bought his freedom. He's got himself a nice blue flashy suit, and then he's riding along. But I'll let Taylor talk a little bit about it since you like it so much.
Thank you so much, because this is my favorite movie of his. I have this poster hanging in my room. This is, oh my goodness. And first I just got to talk about the cinematography, the landscape and everything, like from the mountains and to the desert and to the old towns, to everything is just great. The acting, the writing, to me, and this is probably a stretch, but there's nothing wrong with this movie. I think it's so good.
My only minor gripe was I thought, okay, Kerry Washington's in this. Let's see. I feel like her and Jamie Foxx have really good chemistry.
Yeah.
And I felt like they were distant in this movie because he was trying to get back to her. But I would have liked to see more scenes of them when they were together. So there's more of an emotional drive pushing him to go. Obviously, it's his wife. He wants to get back to her. But
right.
I would have liked to see the little peaceful, quiet moments that they had as characters.
Yeah, instead of having like a 30-minute long opening credit scene.
Yeah, because the scene we get with her is she's like in the pond, like washing herself. And
Yeah, we only see like flashbacks of her when Django's dreaming and stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's the masking of like when they're all riding out and they all got the masks on with the holes cut in there. And nobody can see.
That is the best scene in any Tarantino movie ever. Probably the best scene in general of any movie. It is so funny. And that's where Jonah Hill makes his appearance.
It's
glorious.
It's layered because it's not. It's like you see them, and you're like, oh gosh, here we go. And then it's layered because it shows. Not only does it show them and their ignorance, but it shows how simple-minded led to the way they are.
Yeah.
So it's just like this. So it's like a snowball effect of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And you can watch that scene over again and just laugh.
No,
I laugh every time.
I do, because it's Tarantino's that conversational. It's that everything stops for a little bit, and then they have like a pretty real little scene. My wife stayed up all night making these masks, and y'all just gonna say we're not gonna use them.
My favorite is the mediator guy, where he's just sitting there and he's like, all right, so the bags weren't really executed very well. So this time, let's ditch the bags. But next time, we'll make the bags, and we'll make them right, and we'll go full regalia. And it's so funny.
How about the scene with one of my favorites, I think, just in general, is Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like when you look at him, like when they have close-ups of him, you see his eyes, like that's not him. Like there's somebody else in there.
He's psychotic.
There's the scene where he like slams the glass on the table next to Kerry Washington, and he actually cuts his hand.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then like wipes it on her face.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that, because he actually did not even mean to break the glass, but he was trying for the Oscar so hard that year.
He deserved it. He should have got it for that instead of The Revenant.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But he actually cut his hand open and didn't mean to, and that was his real blood on Kerry
That's
Washington's
gross.
face.
Yeah.
And if I were Kerry Washington, I don't know how I would have saved
Well, they said that was her scream. The scream that she like.
It had to have been
that was
authentic.
genuine.
Ooh, I got chills. Oh, I love it so much. Well, as wrapping up that one, Pulp Fiction's appeal is a matter of taste and appreciation for, again, its conversational qualities and phenomenal cast that we continue to see. The fact that this movie is considered an independent film only sets the bar even higher for not just independent movies, but movies everywhere. Here is a trailer for Pulp Fiction.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
What do they call it?
Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
You got a corpse in a car, minus a head in a garage. Take me to it.
Mother.
Who's Sid?
Sid's dead, baby. Sid's dead.
I love you, Pumpkin.
I love you, honey bunny.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
What's Fonzie like?
Cool.
Correctamundo. And that's what we're gonna be. We're gonna be cool.
Now, Pulp Fiction, without a doubt, is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie because of its realistic, natural dialogue throughout and Tarantino's attention to details big and small. But enough about me. I want to hear what you guys thought about it.
Well, first of all, Samuel L. Jackson is back. Actually, this is his first Tarantino film, but
he crushed
he comes back again.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions, and for good reason, because he annihilated this role.
Oh yeah.
I love this movie, not because like you have to, because let's be real, if you like movies, you have to like Pulp Fiction. It's just kind of the law of the land.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about too. You can't love movies and not love Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
Right, and Jules and Vincent, aka Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta. Yeah. Such a good little duo, and it's like, and that's again, here we go, conversational thingies, and they their conversations between each other are always hilarious when they're talking about how Marcellus threw this guy off the balcony because he was massaging Mia's feet, his wife. And, Samuel L. Jackson is over here, I totally get it. Nobody's touching my woman, I throw him off a balcony. But Vincent's over here like, well, I just think it's a little much. I mean, he didn't have sex with her or anything, he just rubbed her feet a little bit. And he was like, nah, man, it's the same thing, that's an emotional thing. And then he's like, man, I massage my mom's feet, but I'm not gonna, and then he's like, and Vincent goes, would you massage my feet? And then he's like, man, shut up. And that was about the end of that. But I just love that duo so much.
First of all, I just appreciate how you can just quote the movie so easily.
It's nothing.
But also, I understand that. That's one thing that Tarantino also does really well. And you could see it in Django and Pulp Fiction both, is that you have two leads in this movie and they have such good chemistry and they just bounce off each other so well. And it's so, and even though they're murdering people
you
along
care
the
about
way,
it. Exactly.
You're just like, this is, I just need to see more of this.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking about who are the main characters. It starts off with them, and then we lose Vince. And then Bruce Willis' story kind of comes.
Yeah, we see Butch.
Yeah.
And how he, but yeah, it bounces around a lot. But then there's some people that say that you can watch this movie in chronological order and it still sort of makes sense.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. But it bounces around a lot. Like we see Butch and him and Marcellus make a deal that he's going to be in this fight and he's supposed to lose it. He does not lose. In fact, he killed the guy, so now Marcellus is after him. Now Vincent and Jules are after him. But, we see everybody's story, and I love all of the characters.
Yeah,
Butch is all right, but yeah, mostly just Jules and Vincent. In the cafe scene at the end, and poor Vincent, every time he walks out of the bathroom, something's going on. Yeah, every single time. Because there's, in the cafe scene, he's walking out of the bathroom, and side note, he is always in the bathroom because he actually does heroin, and heroin is known to make you constipated, and that's why he's always in the bathroom. And he takes a book with him. He's got to spend some time, and so we see him walking out of the bathroom, and then there's a cafe shooting. Walks out of the bathroom again. He gets shot and killed by Butch. Spoilers, like you haven't seen it. But oh God, there's too much to touch on. To be honest with you, I love this movie too much.
I think I don't know if I read somewhere, but it's it literally could have been 3 different movies.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there could have been one story here, one story there, this story, and I think, but the way it kind of just kind of all tangles up together and kind of has a good payoff at the end. I think with I really there's a scene I think when Bruce Willis gets introduced, his character, and he's inside the bar and it's this slow pull-out shot.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Marcellus Wallace, and it's the slow pull-out, and he's just kind of sitting there and just kind of goes away, and we kind of get the feel of who he's talking to and how powerful he is because we're not seeing him.
Yeah.
Tarantino does a lot of those little zoom things. He loves that. Another thing that he loves, which I love, is that he breaks it off into different chapters a lot of times, like movies. That's such a stylistic thing.
Ooh.
And I think it was The Hateful Eight. They did it a lot. They did
Inglourious did it too.
Yeah. And Django kind of did it. They didn't really cut to black and say this is the scene as often, but
I love that because I feel like it shows that he's not just making he's making something that has a beginning, middle, and end.
And so many details. That's what I like adore watching it like again and again, and then finding more little things to look forward to, and like the fact that this isn't really like, you can't notice it by watching it, but when Mia, she had that overdose and she needed the shot of adrenaline to the heart, but that was filmed in reverse. And they're like, when I read it online, it said, she was actually not stabbed. No way, like, God, I hope not.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, they filmed the big adrenaline shot going, they filmed it in reverse, which makes sense. They didn't want to accidentally stab Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
But oh God, I can't even there's so many things to touch on with this movie that I love, and then the car scene when he accidentally shoots the guy in the face.
That's my favorite part of the movie.
It's
That's
hilarious.
so funny to me.
And then because it's all accidental, and then they're panicking. Now the car's filled with blood. It's broad daylight. Jules is freaking out. We gotta find somewhere to go. And he's like, I don't know, man. He just turns around and he's like, so what do you think? And just blows his head off.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that. It was just the funniest thing, and that Quentin Tarantino just sprinkles throughout that just make it so good.
Put a little dab of comedy in with my gallon of blood.
Yeah,
with a little
that's how I like it.
A lot of bit of insanity in there.
Yeah.
I think that's like his most unconventional storytelling film.
Yeah.
I think out of all of his films, like Reservoir Dogs was simple, Django was a revenge story. This was just like
a story telling. I don't know.
Like everybody's kind of everybody has an impact on whoever they're around.
Right, and they don't know it.
Different stories, and because like with most of his films, it's usually like I don't want to be like one character, because that's one thing he doesn't do. He does not stick to just one character.
Yeah, it's like an ensemble of characters.
He has an ensemble of like main characters, but like this, and most of the time they follow the same plot. But for this one, it's like couple different ones.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And I do find it interesting.
Yeah, like
it's not as good as Django, obviously, but
they're close, because I love Django, but like Pulp Fiction has really impacted me. And then and Mia and Marsalis, they're married to each other, and that's why Vincent has to go take Mia on the date to keep her company. And but Marsalis and Mia are actually never around each other, which is really interesting. There's one scene where he's in the office and she's outside the door, but they're never actually with each other. And you wouldn't even think they'd be married, unless you're actually paying attention. You're like,
right?
Oh,
they really aren't.
Yeah,
together.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and then
wow.
And then when what's
realized.
his name? Yeah, Butch is in the car at the very end before they have that brawl in the pawn shop. And right when they get in that wreck and he tries to run him over. Well, Marsalis is carrying some donuts, and he's actually on his way to meet with Vincent and Jules. And it's funny how all these stories tie in together, and they're so chopped up and scattered throughout, but they all sort of link together, which is beautiful.
I have a question. Do you think that Tarantino will go the Shyamalan route and make a movie that we don't know what it's about, and by the end of it, it ties into Pulp Fiction?
Oh, I'm watching it for sure.
Probably.
I think when he gets old and he's running out of ideas,
actually,
he's gonna be like, you know what? I'm bringing Pulp Fiction.
Is
back.
he not on his last film right now, though?
I think he said he was making. At first, he said he was only making 8. That was a Hateful 8.
Oh.
And now he's gonna make 10.
Well, I wouldn't have ended on Hateful 8 either. So
yeah, right. Yeah, that was. I mean,
it's not a bad one, but
it's a beautiful movie. It's just like I said, it's 3.5 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really long movie, and it's all in one room.
So I think the ones that we picked are pretty solid, but it being Tarantino,
got so many. We didn't even touch on Kill Bill.
Oh yeah,
Kill
Bill, that's a whole episode of its own.
We scraped the surface a bit.
Yeah. So next week we're going to be doing Spielberg films. We're going to be talking about E.T., Saving Private Ryan, Jaws. It was really hard to pick 3 movies of his just because
he's done so many.
He's the greatest.
He's good.
Okay, Tarantino's the greatest.
All right.
Spielberg's.
It's different. There's different types of filmmaking, and I think, and it's hard to say what's the best. I think it's just what you're in the mood for.
That's right. I'd take a little bit of all of them, to be honest with you.
Well, we'll talk about that on next week's episode. See you next time.
Have a good one.